Welcome back to my next playthrough series. This time I will be doing Clank, the deck building adventure game. So it's a little bit different deck builder because you actually have a board that you're going to be moving through and artifacts you're going to be trying to collect and so on. The gist of the game is you are an adventurer. You are going down into this dungeon. You are trying to grab an artifact worth as much as possible from the dragon, of course, which is guarding it, and you want to make your escape. I'm not going to go over all of the rules. We'll see the rules as we play. It's basically a deck builder. You basically have a hand of cards. You play your cards. You draw a new hand, and then when you don't have any cards to draw, you shuffle and redraw, and so on. So you're going to be buying cards and carrying on. I will show you the setup from the rule book. So this is what I have followed. If you want to follow all the steps along here, this is what I've done. Placed out all the tokens, put everything in the dragon bag, the black cubes, and so on. So this basically tells you how to set up a game from 2 to 4 players. There is also an app that lets you play solitaire. And I will be doing another playthrough of this game at a later date using the Sunken Treasure expansion and the app which controls for a solo playthrough, so I will be doing that as well. Alright, I have rolled some dice ahead of time. I will be the first player, so I'm going to be putting 3 Clank, and Clank basically is the noise you're making while you're going into the dungeon and trying to steal stuff from the dragon. And the red player, I should say, I'll be the yellow player. I have 3 Clank in here. The red player will be the second player. He's going to be putting 2 Clank in there. If you have a 3 or 4 player game, the third and fourth player would then each put 1 Clank in the Clank area, and we would begin. So we have a hand or a deck, a starting deck of 10 cards, and I will just show you I'm starting, so these are my 5 starting cards. You basically end up with 2 stumble cards, 6 burgle cards, 1 sidestep card, and 1, I forget what it's called. It is called Scramble. Sorry. All right. So, looking at my hand, stumble cards basically add Clank. It means I'm making noise going into the dungeon, and you must play these. You can't avoid, wow, I got both of my stumble cards. So to begin with, I basically have to make noise as I'm going down. So I've stumbled twice. I'm going to add 2 Clank into the Clank area. That is bad news. And I have 1 movement for my sidestep and 2, I think they're called, I'm trying to think if they're called influence or just what they're called, but they're the purchasing power for the game. I'll try and remember the proper terminology for that. So basically I'm going to play my sidestep, which is 1 move. So I'm going to be able to move down into the dungeon. So I can move 1 space. And I'll explain the symbols and stuff on the map as we move when we need to. Basically, if it's a solid line with nothing on it, it just costs you 1 movement. Double footsteps cost you 2 movement to move there. If there's a lock showing, you cannot move there unless you've purchased a key from the market. If there's a monster head symbol, for every monster head symbol on the path, you must take 1 damage or have a sword to fight it. And there's a little hand symbol here. It means you can cross from this side of the board over to this side. And if you move into a crystal cavern, you immediately stop. So the idea is to try to go down here and steal treasures. You want to get the most expensive artifacts. And I've removed 2 artifacts randomly. I've removed the 25-point artifact and the 15 that was done randomly. So I've used my step card, and now I'm going to use my purchase power. I only have 2, and 2 is not a lot. So we're going to go over here, and right now we're going to look at the cards that we can buy, and the 6 cards that have come out, and we'll go from there. All right, so as part of the setup, I have taken this huge Clank deck, shuffled it, and dealt out 6 cards. There's also a goblin who is forever out here and can always be fought. If you have 2 swords, every time you defeat him, you get 1 gold, and you can do that multiple times per turn. You can buy an Explorer card, and all purchasing costs are in the bottom right corner. And it will give you 2 purchase power, 1 movement, and you can buy a Mercenary card. I can afford this because I have 2, giving you 1 buying power and 2 swords for fighting. And you can also buy the Secret Tome, which is worth 7 points at the end of the game, and it costs you 7 to purchase it. So it's very expensive, and it doesn't do anything for you, it just gives you gold. I'm going to zoom in on these 6 cards, and we're going to take a look at what they are. Remember, I still have 2 purchase power for my turn, so let's zoom into the 6 cards and see what they do. Alright, I hope you can read these well enough. We basically have out here, there are sort of devices you can use. There are items and stuff you can purchase. There's abilities, there are companions. So the first 2 are actually devices. The first one's a shrine, and everything that says arrive here at the very beginning of the game, that doesn't take effect. It just takes effect when it shows up in this area. And I'll explain that as we play, but the first 6 cards are just put out any dragon activating symbols. And the first 6 cards are also shuffled back into the deck, which I've already done as part of the setup if you want to read the setup rules at the very beginning of the game. So the shrine, if you use it, it costs you 2 to use. You can either just collect 1 gold or heal 1 damage. The teleporter costs you 4, and you can teleport to an adjacent room. So you can just ignore any of the symbols in between 2 rooms and teleport to an adjacent room. Likewise, if you move into a crystal cavern and you're stuck there, you could use the teleporter to leave the crystal cavern and go to an adjacent room, which is normally not available during the game. We have a lucky coin, which only costs 1. It adds a clank when you get it, when you play it, but it lets you draw a card. We have a dwarven peddler. It gives us 1 movement, and it gives us 2 gold when it comes up, costs 4. It says worth 4 if you have 2 of the following. If you have a chalice and a dragon egg, if you have a chalice, a monkey idol, or a dragon egg and monkey idol, you'll get 4 points at the end of the game. Move silently, an excellent card, costing 3. It's -2 clank and gives you 2 movement. That's an excellent one. I can't afford it though. And the rebel miner is a companion. When you play him, you get 2 gold. If you have another companion in your play area, draw a card, costing 2. So what do I want to do? I think with my 2 purchase power, I think I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to buy a mercenary. So that's going to go into my discard pile, as well as all my other cards. So I'll just zoom out here again, and then we're going to have the first turn for the red player. All right, it is now the red player's turn, so they're going to take their 5 cards, which they have here, and we're going to see what they are. They have Burgle, Burgle, Scramble, there's the Scramble card I was telling you about, and Stumble, Stumble. So they also have 2 Stumble cards. And I should say, these 6 cards here, if any of them are purchased at the end of your turn, they get replaced. They don't get replaced immediately when you buy one, they do get replaced at the end of your turn. And if a dragon symbol comes up on it, that's when the dragon will attack. And how the dragon will attack is all the clank that's in here goes into the black bag with the 24 black cubes. You shuffle them up, and then you look and see where the dragon is on the track, and you pull that many cubes out of the bag so you can get damaged by the dragon. So anyway, it's kind of covering the rules, as I said I wasn't going to do. So he's going to have to stumble twice. So he is going to have to put 2 more clank into the clank area. And he has a scramble, so he also has 1 movement, which he'll spend, but then he has 3 purchase power. So with his 1 movement, he is going to join me down in the dungeon. So we are both now in the starting room. He has 3 purchase power, and let's go back to the buy area and see what he is going to purchase with his 3. All right, so we can't buy the Secret Tome. It's so expensive. He's got an option. He could buy the Explorer card. He could buy a Miner and a Lucky Coin. He could get the Move Silently. And I think what he wants to get, I think he's going to get an Explorer card for his 3. Because Explorer gives you 2 more purchase power and 1 more movement. And that's not a bad card to have. So he's going to buy that. And that's basically going to end his turn. We're going to go back. We're going to do a couple more turns each. Now nothing has been moved out of the 6 cards here, so no more cards are going to be flipped over. So not likelihood of a dragon attack right now. Of course, this is a competitive game, so we're trying to sort of outmaneuver each other and see what we can do. So back to me, and we'll zoom back out. Okay, my next 5 cards, of course, are the next 5 cards of my 10-card starting deck. I have my Scramble, a Burgle, a Burgle, a Burgle, and a Burgle. So I have 5 purchase power this time and 1 movement. So Once again, pretty quick turn for me. I have one movement. I'm going to move the only way I can. Whoops, he's the red player. I'm yellow, so I'm going to move to the next room in the dungeon. That's all I can do, but I do have 5 purchase power now. So let's go back to the buy area zone here, and I'll see what I'm going to spend my 5 All right, once again, the tome is up here. It's just kind of out of the way because buying it right now, not going to happen with a 7. Although I have 5, getting close to 7. But it's kind of a useless card because it doesn't do anything for you. I have a total of 5 that I can spend. And I have to think carefully what I want to do. I think I am going to buy the Move Silently. It just gives you that -2 Clank, and it gives you 2 movement. It's a really useful card. So that cost me 3. And with 2 more, I think I'm going to buy a Mercenary, which is going to give me a little bit of fight ability, another bit of purchase power, costing 2. And it says, if I could help you out, but what's in it for me? He's a companion. So that's going to be my purchasing. Now I'm finished. We're going to replace this card. So I'm going to discard all my cards to my discard pile, of course, at the end of my turn. And we're going to replace it off the top of the deck. And we get a Crystal Golem. He costs 3 to defeat. And you can fight the Crystal Golem only in a Crystal Cave. And to defeat him, when you defeat him, you get 3 purchase power. And so it costs you 3 swords, and you can only fight him in a Crystal Cavern. All right, that's it for my turn. Up to the second turn for my adversary, the Red Knight. I guess I'll call him the Red Knight. I guess I'm the Yellow Knight. All right, carrying on with the Red Knight. He, of course, has his last 5 cards from his basic starting hand. He has Burgle, a Burgle, a Burgle, a Burgle, and Sidestep. So he can move 1 space, and he has purchase power 4. So fairly similar to what I just had. And I guess I should get the terminology correct. The blue, I keep calling it purchase power. They're basically called skill. And the boots are, well, they're called boots. And the sword, red sword symbol is called swords. So if you want to know the terminology from the rule book, we have skill, boots, and swords. All right, so he's been able to move 1. So he's going to move to the same room as me in the dungeon. So we're together way up at the top of the castle, of the dungeon. Over to the purchase area. He has 4 to spend, and we'll see what he's going to buy. Okay, with 4 to spend, now he could go ahead and use the teleporter and just teleport to an adjacent room. Wow, that would be a pretty good boon for him, because he could, in fact, teleport to a room that has a large secret in it. And that might be a pretty slippery maneuver for this guy. And I think he's going to go ahead and he's going to do that. He's going to use the teleporter. So it's going to cost him his 4 skill, which he's going to pay and use. Teleport to an adjacent room. And when you use a teleporter, it's just, you can ignore arrows, you can ignore the footprints, the lock symbols, anything. You just go to an adjacent room. So he's going to spend that, and of course, devices go away. They don't go into your hand. Let's go to the board, and let's see where he's going to teleport to, the little sneaky bugger. All right, he's being pretty slippery here. So he's going to teleport to this room right here, this crystal cavern. And so and it's adjacent because there's an arrow. Now, usually you can only go one way this way, and it costs you 2 footprints to go here. But he's teleporting from here to here. So he teleports into this room, and he uncovers a large secret, which is a chalice that's going to be worth 7 victory points at the end of the game. So he's scooped that using the teleporter. Wow, that was a pretty good maneuver. So he's jumped ahead of me, I think, a little bit. All right, let's go back to the buy area here. We're going to see which card gets replaced. Okay, so we're going to be replacing this card at the end of his turn. And it is a Wand of Recall. It costs 5. And if you have an artifact, teleport to an adjacent room. Okay, and of course the artifacts are these hexagonal shaped treasures that go out on the board in specific locations. So if you have one of them, wow, and this comes up in your hand, you're able to teleport to an adjacent location. Of course, and some of the artifacts and companions and stuff have victory points in the upper right hand corner, so you got to keep track of that kind of as well. for the end game. The idea is to get down here, steal as much as you can, and get out before the dragon kills you. And there you have it. So far, no dragon attack. I think what we're going to do is we're going to have one more turn each, and we're going to call this the intro and episode 1. All right, so I've shuffled up all my cards. I've drawn myself a new hand of 5, and I get Burgle with skill. Burgle, or Scramble, movement and skill. My mercenary came up, my 2 swords, Burgle, Burgle. So it looks like this time I have 1 movement, 2 swords, and 5 skill for purchase. So with my 1 movement, I'll go ahead and do that first. I'm just going to move down here to the Crystal Cavern. I can't move anymore after the Crystal Cavern anyway. I kind of want to get down here, maybe uncover some of these minor secrets. They give you sort of little boosts and boons. And now I have 2 swords and 5 skill. So I'm going to go over to the purchase area and see what I can do. All right, well, with my 2 swords, really the only thing I can do is I can beat on the goblin. And of course the goblin never goes away, and they're endless. And so by spending 2 swords, I defeat the goblin. I will get 1 gold. So this is the first time anyone's got any gold, so I get gold. Of course, gold is good for purchasing items when you get to a market square. I still have 5 skill to spend. And what do I want to use my 5 skill for? This, wow, that's, I don't know. This is, I don't know. I think I'm going to get an Explorer for 3 because it gives me 2 skill and a movement. So that's going to cost me 3. I still have 2 left. And I think I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to purchase the Rebel Miner. He's a companion. And when I play him, he gives me 2 gold. And it says if you have another companion in your play area, draw a card. So I might want to start collecting companions. So that was pretty good. That's spending all of my skill. That's doing all of my movement and using all my swords to my best ability. End of my turn, we're going to have to replace this card. Let's hope it's not a dragon, but there it is. We are going to have our first dragon attack. So this is a gem. It's going to cost 4 to purchase it. It's just an always draw a card and worth 4 victory points at the end of the game. So, all right, we get our first dragon attack. Let's go to the main board and we're going to process a dragon attack. We're going to be processing our first dragon attack. So what we do is we have the dragon bag here that has 24 black cubes in it to start with. But now we're going to put in all the noise that we've made. We're going to put in all these cubes. So I've had 5 yellow cubes. He's got 4 red cubes, and they're all going inside this bag to be mixed up with the 24 black ones. And we look down here at where the dragon currently is, and we're going to be pulling out 3 cubes. And we're going to see what they are. So, all right, we're going to pull out 3, and we're going to see. I'm going to shake here. Let's see if I can grab 3 without messing up. All right, 3 cubes, and this is what we pull out. Well, okay. Kind of one for everybody. So the black cubes do basically nothing. They're just sort of neutral. The red knight's going to take a wound, and so am I. So how do wounds happen? We put them down here on the track. And if this track ever fills up to a little skull symbol down here, then you're either killed or knocked out, depending where you are in the dungeon. And the black cubes don't go back in the bag unless a special event tells you to. All right, that was a dragon attack. Up for the end of this episode, we're going to have one more turn for the Red Knight, and that's going to be the end of our playthrough for today. All right, Red Knight has 5 cards. He has Burgle, Scramble, Burgle, and Burgle. So he has 1 movement, and he has 5 skill to purchase. Okay, with his 1 movement, he's going to move up here. He's going to go past this spot into this room with a heart in it. But he's going to take 1 damage here for passing a monster without having any swords. But he's going to get a health back for landing in this room. So he's going to lose a health, gain a health. So basically a red token would go on here, and 1 would come off. So it's kind of a nothing maneuver to move into that room for him. Now, but of course it's getting him closer to the deeper dungeon where the better treasure is. He has 5 skill to purchase things with. Let's take a look at what he can buy. And let's decide what he wants to get. Okay, so here we are. He has 5, so let's take a look. The Shrine costs 2, could get a gold or heal 1. This Artifact Wander Recall costs 5. If you have an Artifact Teleport to an adjacent room, that could come in really handy later on for moving around. But I don't know, and it's worth 1 victory point. Or he can just get the gem. It's worth 4 victory points, and it's a draw card. But when he acquires it, he has to do 2 Clank because he's making noise and bothering the dragon. Or he could get the Dwarven Peddler. I don't know. I think he is going to go ahead and pick up the Wand of Recall, because he's going to get an artifact eventually, and then when this card comes up, it's going to be really beneficial for him. If you have an artifact teleport to an adjacent room, worth only a victory point, but worth really good movement ability. So he's going to buy that with his 5 skill. All right, end of his turn. The card gets replaced. Are we going to have another dragon attack? No, we don't. Oh, and he also... No, he doesn't do anything there. We have the Amulet of Vigor. And this, wow, costs 7, worth 3 victory points. And when you acquire it, you get to heal 1 health. But it gives you 4 skill. Wow, that is pretty awesome. And I do really like the artwork in this game, I must say. It's very, very nice artwork in it. All right, that's what comes out. So no more dragon attacks. Let's zoom back out on the board, and I think we're going to wrap up this episode for today. Okay, so this is Clank, and I'm doing a 2-player game. Myself, the Yellow Knight versus the Red. I guess we're not knights. We're thieves. Who am I kidding? Thieving knights is what we are. We've both moved down into the dungeon. I'm in a crystal cavern. He's moved here to a little health room, and we're trying to get down here, maybe to the market, once we have 7 gold to purchase something. The artifacts are out here. The cheaper, less expensive artifacts, or less point value artifacts, are near the top. The really expensive artifacts are down deeper into the dungeon. And so there you have it. This is Clank. It is a deck building adventure game, which is a little bit unique. Very cool with the board. And there you have it. So thanks so much for watching along. Thanks for liking my videos, subscribing, leaving comments and suggestions. I really appreciate it. So this is Clank. I'm doing a 2-player playthrough. So join me next time for the continuation.